So I'm here with Gabe Bodner, and mortgage professional with RPM Mortgage. And Gabe, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, thanks, CJ. My name is Gabe, and I am a mortgage professional, as you said, with RPM Mortgage. And RPM Mortgage is a mortgage bank and a mortgage brokerage. So there's a very large distinction between a mortgage banker and a mortgage broker, and I myself happen to be both a mortgage banker and a mortgage broker.
In this current market, the average close of escrow is about 30 to 35 days. So can you talk a little bit about why it's important to have your mortgage professional decided upon before you go into contract?
Well, CJ, as I said, the shopping part of the process should certainly take place prior to getting into contract if you're buying a house. 30 to 35 days or even 40 days is a very short window for the entire mortgage process, and I will tell you why. By the time somebody gets into contract on a house, the lender then has 3 days by law to prepare the initial loan disclosures, which includes the good faith estimate and an estimated breakdown of the fees and the interest rate and payment. Most lenders are taking all 3 days today, and that's 3 business days, by the way. So if you get into contract on a Friday, that 3 days will roll over and well into the beginning part of the next week. So it could be upwards of 5 days before loan disclosures are prepared and sent to the client for review and signature. I will also tell you, but most lenders cannot order an appraisal on the property until those initial loan disclosures are signed by all parties, parties that are buying the property. Okay, so if it takes me 5 days to get loan disclosures back from you signed, and then I can order the appraisal, appraisers are taking upwards of 7 days today to complete an appraisal. Okay, so if it took me 5 days to get loan disclosures signed and prepared and signed, 7 days for an appraisal, I'm 12 days with weekends. That could be 2 weeks before I even package the loan up and send it to the underwriter for review. Okay, so I'm 2 weeks into a transaction in most cases before I even have a loan approval issue. Well, if you take into consideration today, September 21st, 2010, interest rates are at historic lows. Well, because we're at historic lows, all banks and lenders are extremely overwhelmed with volume and understaffed. So things are taking longer than usual for every part of the process. Underwriting turn times are taking longer. I'm seeing underwriting turn times minimum of 7 days and upwards of 14 to 21 days depending on the lender and who is underwriting that loan. So let's take 10 days for underwriting. We're at 14 days at this point. 10 days for underwriting. I'm at 24 days roughly before I even have a final loan approval or an initial loan approval from the underwriter. So again, at that point, I have a conditional approval, I should say. So at this point, I need to go back to you as the buyer, work out the conditions of approval, potentially get documentation from you, provide it to the underwriter for review. Reviewing conditions could take 3 more days potentially to review them, or longer. So now we could be upwards of 27 days into the transaction before I even have a final approval. Okay, once I get the final approval and I'm cleared for loan documents would then be sent to the title company a day, 2, maybe 3 days later, depending on, again, how slow the lender is. And then, and only then, can we prepare a signing appointment for the buyers to sign the loan documents. At that point, we're close to 30 days into a transaction, and that's assuming we had all of our documentation and all of our ducks in a row when you got into contract. Okay, so closing in 30 days today is a very tight time frame with having been pre-approved, okay, and having prepared all the documentation. If somebody starts shopping for a mortgage when they get into contract, okay, we now have pushed that 30-day window out for however many days it takes the consumers to shop and identify their preferred option. So again, it's my opinion that buyers get pre-approved prior to even getting into contract to really cut out some of the turn times, is what we call them, and to speed up the process so that by the time you get into contract, we can start quickly getting the loan disclosures prepared and order the appraisal. If we don't have all of your documents prepared with income documents, asset documentation, having run a credit report, that's only going to delay the time frame that I can prepare the loan disclosures and order the appraisal.
So Gabe, this is great information, but for folks who have a couple more questions or want to follow up with you on some of the detail, how do they get a hold of you?
So the easiest way to get a hold of me is probably by email, which is Gabe, G-A-B-E, at BayAreaHomeFinancing.com. Or you can call me directly, 408-426-4416. Additionally, my website has tons of calculators and useful information, which is BayAreaHomeFinancing.com, which you can also follow me on my blog from my website as well, which I periodically update based on market conditions and updates on a weekly basis as well. So those are probably the best and easiest ways to get a hold of me.
Well, thank you, Gabe, so much for all this information. It's great and always wonderful working with you.
Thanks, CJ. Thank you very much.